You know. Hello, this is Stephanie, and this is the Mocha Minutes Podcast. Hey guys, before we get into the episode, I just wanted to let you know about something that's a little new here at the Mocha Minutes Podcast. We are now participating in Buy Me a Coffee. So if you haven't heard, buymeacoffee.com is a place where you can show some support and some love monetarily to some of your favorite content creators. That includes me. So it's in the increments of either $1, $3, or $5, and you can do as many as you would like. So I just wanted to let you guys know, would love some support. So if you would go to buymeacoffee.com/Mocha Minutes, I would greatly appreciate it. It will also be in the show notes. Okay, here we go. Mama just killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life had just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all away. Mama, ooh, didn't mean to make you cry. If I'm not back again this time tomorrow, carry on, as if nothing really matters. Hello, welcome back to the Mocha Minutes Podcast. I am Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining me. Now I have I don't know why. I had a weird fascination to go watch Wayne's World again. Not sure why, because it's not a good binge to watch. It's like, that's not like, ooh, I can't wait to do it and watch this. I'm like, oh, no, nobody says that about Wayne's World. It's like, it's a cult classic, but no one goes, man, I'm in the mood. No, don't. Welcome back. So the chuckle you hear is from, she is my Charmaine. She's my main, not y'all's, mine. So I have Charmaine from 17 bajillion podcasts, most notably Militantly Mixed and BlerdcoMIXED, and also newly into Texas part. She is co-owner, co-runner of Gulf Cosmos. Sorry, GulfCoast Cosmos. I'm sorry. Let me know when y'all want me to come sing y'all theme song, because I'm all about it. Where the jingle for the commercial? I'm here.
Love it. Love that.
Sound like it need to be on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. Like, why does it sound like a blaxploitation movie? Because that's what we doing.
That's what we're doing.
Oh my gosh. And Charmaine, wait, she got all her stuff in here. This is why I love. And also, what do I see?
That's this one here is by Furious. I had this show going for a little while, and then I got depressed doing it, so I stopped doing it.
Aww.
And I was like, I'm gonna come back to it in a couple months. Well, it's been 2 years. I'm gonna go back to it eventually. It was a lot more work. It's my, because I'm an angry bisexual, it was, me wanting to talk about I wanted to talk about queer issues, but it was so much work to talk about with other people. Like, we got some issues in the Black queer community. It's hard to talk. It's hard for us to talk. So I got depressed doing it, and I put it on pause for a while. So I'll get back to it one day.
I can understand why, because I swear, the whole thing with Lil Nas X and seeing the divide, I'm looking from the outside looking in and watching the divide between queer folks and trans folks, and how they're like, y'all don't like, everybody don't get along in the car. And it's like, yeah, this is starting to come out. But then I also am a fan of like YouTube shows. So it's YouTube shows. I love them. And there's a lot of transphobia on these shows. And it's like, but now we've said it because it was Chasing Reality has some really good shows. I love theirs. Chasing LA, they had two trans women on there. One of them is not coming back, and she was like, I'm calling out all the transphobia that's on there. And people are like, why are you doing that? It's like, but did y'all watch the show? Because I watched the show. It's like, no, I get what she's saying. It's like, when we talk about like transphobia in the Black community, we are not excluding queer folks. Y'all not excluding.
Yeah, I don't think people. So. And we have a lot of conversations we need to have about intersectionality in the Black community. That includes queerness, that includes trans, that includes disabled folks, that include mixed folks, that, you know, all the things. We have some monolithic issues to work out.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming up, I am going to be doing another speaker series, and this is going to be about therapy. And like in the Black community, talk about that therapy too. Is for everyone. So I started working on it, and I spoke to a therapist. She's a Christian therapist, and so she is very much a proponent on getting therapy, but she's also a Christian because there's also that stigma of just pray it away. You just need to pray more, go talk to your therapist. And it's like, so there's a little bit different than that. And so she was telling me that her church is very much big on they did the hashtag therapy is for everybody, which doesn't really happen at churches. I'm like, that is amazing, because most churches are like, oh no, because it's like the whole, you could be Black or you could be crazy, but you can't be Black and crazy. Like, you gotta pick a struggle. And I'm like, that's getting a therapist is not what y'all think it is, but okay. Right. Oh, what the hell is okay. I just realized what that noise is in the background. My Bluetooth speaker is still connected, so stuff is pinging like a crazy. All right, let's turn that off. Let's turn it off while we're doing that. All right. So have that coming up. I gotta find a couple of other therapists. I am asking the captain from the Captain's Couch to participate as well, because it's kind of like, we have to have that conversation about therapy and why it's not a stigma and it's not a bad thing. And especially, let's add in COVID. There's a lot more people who feel like their mental issues are manifesting because of COVID. But if you already have them, I'm like, oh, there's time when it got worse. Like, I just came back from a 2-month break from Mocha Minutes because I was like, this is a lot. It's like, I need to shut down. Yeah.
And no, I'm glad you did too, because we don't give ourselves enough room to take breaks, and we feel a lot of guilt about taking breaks, and not to mention the whole Black women have to be strong and thing, that strength doesn't involve actually taking care of yourself in some weird way.
Right.
All of that.
all the things. All the things. So next segment, I like to give out people's roses. I give them their roses. So I'm giving my roses to you.
What?
Let me tell you something. I am so proud of you. What? It is hard to start a business, most notably in another state, in a pepperoni pizza. And you are doing it. So y'all went from like, this is our idea, to being online, to doing the pop-ups, and now it's brick and mortar, bitch. So I'm so proud of you, because there are people that would just be like, you know what, I'm gonna have to put this on pause. You're like, no, fuck this. This is what I want to do.
It was a now or never situation. Like, we had this interest, we had this dream. Separately, we'd worked on different aspects of it, you know, before we knew the other one wanted to do something, and it wasn't going to happen. Like, it was too many chances for it not to work out if we didn't push through and you know, just change it like to the online thing at when COVID started and all that kind of stuff too. So for us to get as far as we did and the amount of time we did once we started working together, it's pretty wild. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm really happy to be doing it.
I love it. Super random, but for everybody who watched Queer as Folk, Michael had a comic book shop, and you think like, he's like a gay guy. Why does he like comics? I'm like, everybody likes comic books. What the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, comics are queer as hell. I don't know why anybody is
the other thing.
like they always were. Like if you're trying to be like when my whole deal was, in terms of being an other across the board, like genderly, sexual orientation, racially, ethnically, all that kind of stuff. I found myself in comics, and a lot of times, like when they change a character to queer, and I'm always like, but if you read it, like you would have
not that far off.
You would have picked it up earlier. So yeah, they rarely surprise me when they openly queer a character now, because those characters usually queer, like usually read so
this character
anyway. So it's like, yeah, duh. Yeah, I'm terribly surprised that a person called Aqualad is, like that. I don't know. There's just so many now that like when they basically, as far as I'm concerned, come out of the closet, it's like, duh, yeah, they read that way. It clearly some queer person wrote them at some point in time and just like slid it on in there, and it was signaling to us that we're like, hey, we're like this too.
Like, hello. It's like, are y'all okay? It's like,
also, we're fighting crimes in costumes. Like, yeah, comics are queer. Calm down.
That's so weird. That's so weird. And I don't want to leave out your business partner because one, he's funny as hell. And it's like, y'all love, there has to be a love. And I know that the little black and brown kids are like, oh my God, wait, I can come here and see people who look like me.
Yeah.
You don't really see that. You really don't. You picture an old white dude.
It happens almost every single day. Like,
really?
Byron and I, it might be a couple hours in between customers because we're still new and it's still small and stuff like that. But someone will come in. We had a kid the other day that was just everything that I would have expected. It was the kid was like, this is a place I can come every week, and there's like black and brown characters, and he was grabbing. He got excited about manga and stuff like that too, but then he was like holding static, and he was like, and this is a real thing. And then so he was asking questions, and I was describing, like this comic book is about the Harlem Renaissance, but like if the bad guys that are in power today were actually monsters. And so he said, and when I was talking about Bitterroot with him, and he said, so do you mean like the people we hate? And I go, well, we might hate them, or how there's powerful people that don't look like us and they do bad things to us? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, if they were like monsters, that's what this book is about. And he's like, oh. And then, and then we talked about other characters as to why, why they were black or why they were brown, or, and also super and stuff like that. And so he was just excited. He's like, I'm definitely going to come back. Like, I'll be back here, and he was with his dad, and his dad was excited too. And it was just that I never got. Like, I got to do comic things when I was with my mom's side of the family because my aunt actually took me. But when I was in Long Beach, we didn't have like, it was just a spinner rack and a liquor store. Like, there was nobody there to talk to me about comics or to make me not feel bad for being like a brown girl nerd, Right. So it was just like to be able to reinforce that interest and that excitement with the kids come in. But honestly, it's happening with the adults too. Like, it's also happening with someone my age or older that is just sitting there going, man, I used to be all alone in my room trying to read this comic and not get made fun of. But here we have posters all over our walls that are black and brown characters. We have all the other comics, but the comics you see when you walk in, the ones that are in the front, those are black and brown characters. And it's just letting people who look like us know that we can be main characters, I think, is a big deal. It happens every day. It just happens every day. And so it's also nice to do this with a partner that we don't have the same experience growing up and things like that, but that we both, like for Byron, he'll say, I just remember none of the characters looking like me. And for me, it was, I just remember not being able to have a comic book shop to go to, you know?
Okay.
So we had different experiences and different access points, but at the end of the day, it really was about being brown, being brown and being nerdy and not really having ourselves reflected, and to be able to do that for all the generations, honestly, like, but you know, for a future generation is really nice. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Of course. I'm like, I love it. It's kind of like, it's bad enough. It's like when you see Black people, most notably Black women, being shitted on for cosplay, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? And then their costumes are fucking fire, and they put a lot of work into it. For people going, well, you know that person isn't white. I'm like, the hell is wrong? You're talking about an alien. It's a comic book.
Yeah, like what about fantasy has rules? You know what I'm saying? Like I can't. I don't care if you want to be a hobbit. I don't care if you want to be an anime character or whatever. I mean, in so much as you don't do like appropriative things, just do the thing. Walk around in your skin tone, but do the thing and have a good old time.
Please. It's like, I still remember when they did like the London play and they made Hermione Black and people were like losing their minds. I'm like, it's a book.
Like, I'm sorry, did your fictional character change race in your view of it? Like, I don't know how to help you. My whole thing is, I don't like, in terms of cosplay, I don't care. Whatever you want to dress as that thing. In terms of like, if they switch the race of a character, my whole thing is, so long as the race is not important to the core character. Yeah. Like, obviously you wouldn't change T'Challa to a white character because being from an African nation that has not been colonized, then it's not going to work. No, you can't change. And he can't be Puerto Rican. He can't be Japanese.
He can't be light skinned either. I'm sorry.
He can't be light skinned. He's got to be a Black African, a dark skinned Black African, right? Or Thor, same thing. He's a Nordic person. He's a Nordic god. So he needs to be a white person. You can't change that. But like, if you change the Flash, is the Flash being white a part of his personality or a part of who he is? No, he's just a fast character. So you could change him and it wouldn't matter. You can change a lot of people and it wouldn't matter. But
Green Lantern, like that didn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But if their race or their ethnicity is a part of the grounding of who they are as a character, those are the ones you can't change, as far as you know. That's how you get a Jason Momoa playing Aquaman in a movie instead of, you know, a blonde
hair, blue-eyed person. I was like,
because it doesn't matter
because it's like, it doesn't really matter. He's from under the sea. I mean, you can make him a crab if you want. I'm sorry.
So if you're going to cast a Black woman to play Starfire, plus one, she's hot.
Right. It was like, she's super hot, by the way. It's like, she's super hot, by the way.
She's super hot.
It's like, Brandon already knows how I feel about Nefessa Williams. I'm like, she need to be back on my scene. She's one of my favorite thirst traps on Instagram.
Yeah, it's the whole reason I've been able to push through the 2.5 seasons of
I still have not started Titans. I'm like, one of these days I will find some time. I just haven't found the day.
It's weird. The story is good, but the writing is terrible. The dialogue is terrible. And some of the acting is really good, despite the fact that the lines are terrible. Boy. Which is very weird. I've never seen anything quite like that. Oh. Yeah, but you know, I like the guy that plays Dick. I love what do I love about it? I don't know. I guess I just love Starfire. I don't know.
Everything pushed through. It's like
now I started realizing, I'm like,
what do I like about this show?
I'm really just more pushing through because I own a comic book shop and it's going to come up in conversation.
Like, what do you think about Titans?
It's fine.
You know,
I think
it's fine.
I think the guy that plays Dick, though, is actually pretty solid. Like, I think he's very well casted. And if
they have Nightwing, Grayson, and Drake, do they have?
They're introducing Tim Drake as a Blasian. Again, it's not important to what ethnicity.
It's not important to the character. It's not.
Yeah, they just introduced him, but he's only been introduced in kind of like a non-being Batman sidekick way. Okay. They have Jason Todd though. Jason Todd's been on there for a couple of seasons.
Ooh. Okay.
That little trash monster.
Trash monster child.
Jason Todd is a trash monster. I don't know what. Yeah, he's a weird character. He's a little trash monster.
Oh man.
But yeah.
I don't think he's at Army Hammer level of literally fumbling the bag. It's like, sir, you are tall and fine as fuck.
Okay, so I guess I'm not talking about the actor because I don't know anything about that actor, but as the character of
I'm sorry. I thought Jason Todd was a person.
I don't know that. I don't know that guy. I've never seen that guy.
Oh, I thought Jason Todd was an actor's name. Sorry.
No, Jason Todd is one of the Robins, and he's the Robin that. And this is not a spoiler for anybody who reads comics, but Jason Todd is the Robin that Joker kills, and it changes Batman because of it.
Okay, so I'm all down the wrong.
But the character Jason Todd is a little trash monster.
Oh, okay, not Army Hammer. So that's really funny. Did you ever see the Batman Beyond movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like Return. So it's interesting. You said that's the one he killed. I'm like, huh? Okay. I'm sorry. It's the wine, child. Y'all gonna have to leave me alone. I'm such an auntie. Like, girl, I thought you was talking about that little boy that be on the show.
That's funny. Jason Todd is one of the Robins, one of the many Robins. But there's a very book called Death in the Family, and that's where Joker kills Jason Todd in the books.
Yikes!
So.
Oh, look at that, y'all. That has been your blurred minute. Okay.
Sorry, I went off.
It's not. No, there's nothing to apologize for because I'm like I like hearing Black people talking about nerdy shit. So blurt it up, bitch. Blurred it up. So let's start low key.
Okay.
And talk about Shang-Chi. Girl, let me tell you something. He is 32. That is it Simu Liu?
Simu Liu. Well, I think he pronounces it like Liu, but I think it's supposed to be pronounced Liu.
Okay.
He grew up in Canada, so I think he has a slightly different pronunciation.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah. I love Simu. Let me tell you.
I love him. He is adorable on TikTok. I'm like, sir.
Isn't he? Yeah.
I'm like, sir, I'm gonna marry you. But so they did well. They are smashing the Labor Day box office with 71.4 million.
That's good.
We are in a pepperoni pizza, so people are still going. They did not have a Disney, like the premiere access thing. They didn't do it. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad they didn't. So here's my thing. I have not been to a movie theater since last February for Issa Rae's movie.
Photograph?
The Photograph. That was the last time I've been in a movie. It was last February. And let me tell you something. This is why I cannot go and find that audio of Lakeith Stanfield moaning because I will get on a plane. Because that man has bedroom eyes and it's ridiculous. I'm like, so first of all, fuck you. Second of all, stop talking. Okay? Just leave me the hell alone. So I was like, when I saw the trailer, I was like, yeah, that's going to get me back in the movie theater. It's going to be, it's got to be a Marvel movie. I'm like, Candyman on a theoretically should got me that, but yeah, I'm not going to go watch Candyman by myself.
I got you. Yeah.
I love, I said it twice. Nope, I'm not saying it anymore. But that movie with that fine ass man with that heavy blue dick. Yeah, no.
I know we're both fans of the Yaya, aka Below the Fold.
Heavy, honey.
I did go see it. I saw it.
Did you like it?
It was good. I don't remember enough about the original to fill in some of the things that are either a major gap in the story of this one, or there's a major gap in my understanding of what the first Candyman, of something that happened in that movie.
Okay.
So, which is probably the case. It's probably that there's a gap in my memory because I watched it as a kid and I've never seen it again. Because there's one thing that doesn't make sense at all if you coming in never seeing because the sentence, there's a sentence, really, it's more of that. There's a sentence that doesn't make sense unless they explain it in the previous movie.
Okay, so that means I do need to see it. Okay, so that means I need to see it.
Yeah.
To go.
Like the basic understanding of the storyline, I still remembered and kind of had in my head. But then there's this thing that happens, and I'm just like, this shit don't make no sense.
Yeah, because it's not a remake. It's kind of like just a continuation, right?
It's in the same world, yeah. So it's like it's the 20 or 30 years since that movie was made, and you know, Candyman's back essentially. I think the major difference, which I don't think is a spoiler to say this, is that like in the previous movie, there was very much like black man falls in love with a white lady and comes back for revenge, but for some reason kills black people vibes. Where in this one, that's not the case.
Okay.
It's not an active killing of black people thing. So yeah. But it was good. It was well acted. You know, Tiona's top, very, very high on my list of. She may not realize she's one of my partners, but she's one of my partners. I love her, and to have her side by side next to Yaya, I was like, there's too much fine in this movie. Yeah, so I did go and see it, but Shang-Chi. You know, I'm a Blasian, right? So like for me, I do always describe this. I'm Black first. I'm hierarchically Black because I grew up around my Black people and my Black family, and I grew up in a Black neighborhood. I went to Black school. So it's culturally my identifier is Black first, and then after that it's Japanese, specifically, not Asian, but Japanese.
Okay.
When I was Japanese with my grandma in my grandma's house. But I don't really have like an Asian identity or like an Asian American identity. Okay. That's sort of a new thing that I'm kind of attaching to in the last few years through my show and through all this other stuff of like what it means to be like an Asian American versus what it means to be just a Japanese person in my grandma's house. So I'm particularly drawn to Blasian things. So Naomi Osaka and Ryo Hachimura and Sona Brown and stuff like that. Like there's Black and Japanese people specifically that I'm pretty interested in terms of my own identity and my own culture. So I don't have anything that really gets me wild and crazy about Asian identity very often. And then I saw the trailer for Shang-Chi and I was like, oh shit, Marvel did it. Nobody else has done. Like, I the first time I saw that the full length trailer, I was like, oh fuck, they got me. Like I'm excited. I've seen it twice so far. I usually do 3 times on opening weekend, but I didn't do a 3rd time yet.
Okay.
But I loved it. I love Simu. I think Simu's dope. I love Wong. Wong has a cameo in it, and yes, I love him as a character. I have not complicated feelings because she's not a huge person on my radar, but I have issues and questions about Awkwafina, although I do like her too in certain ways. Like there's some things about her I like, but there's questions.
Correct.
There's things that need to be addressed.
Hello.
For sure. For sure. But like I just think they did such a good job. You can tell Asians were in the room. Like the thing we talk about even on the Black side, you know, of things is like when you can really tell that a Black person was in the room. In this case, you can really tell that there was an active effort on behalf of Asian people to undo some of the racist stereotypes that exist in earlier Shang-Chi stories. And generally that still happen in movies that people think about Asians and stuff. And that the Asianness wasn't constantly brought up. It was just
correct.
Asian
it was seamless. That's what I really picked up on. Yeah. I loved it. I was like, I love it. I'm sorry, continue. I was about to cut you off.
No, I'm fine. Simu's got the abdomen, so I'm here for those.
This man, he needs to keep hair on his face because
well, see, that's the thing. So that is an Asian thing, right? Like it's a hit or miss depending on what kind of Asian you are. If you can grow a beard, if you can grow a mustache. So not all Asians can.
They cannot.
You either can't grow a beard or you can grow the beard.
Yeah,
that's how it is for
there's no happy medium.
There's not really. It's a patchy medium. It's just kind of like an island nation situation going on.
So that's the show title, Patchy Medium. Not Patchy Medium.
Yeah, no, I really love him. I'm so happy to see his success too.
Yeah, I loved it. And I think for me, it's like I wanted people to have the feelings. I wanted Asian folks to have the feelings that I had about Black Panther. But I think for me, I also had the buy-in of Civil War, where it was like, I already saw the damn character. But for a lot of people, they didn't watch Captain America Civil War, so they didn't see it. So then it became like this, like, oh my God, we got to go see it. We are going to dress the fuck up.
Yeah.
We're going to go see Black Panther.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to sit here and just like, no, this is a big deal. Okay. Yeah. This is a very big deal. And the fact that they had Ben Kingsley in there, and I feel like he also is Asian.
Yeah. So he's an Asian person too. He's
so it's kind of like you go
of Indian heritage.
So yeah, and I'm just sitting here like, I absolutely loved it. I loved his comic timing. It's like, God, Ben Kingsley is so good at this, but also Michelle Yeoh. And I hope I'm pronouncing her last name. It's like, I'm sorry, she's iconic to me. I'm like, I want her. I want to like live in your house. I want to drink tea with you every Saturday.
You know, one of my favorite things about the movie, besides the fact that they just like casually undid racist stereotypes, is there is not a white sidekick friend. There is not a white savior friend. Nope. There is not a white person who provides instruction and or guidance.
They had a white person as a lackey. Hello, Big Nancy's in this movie. I'm like, if you watched Creed 2, y'all know his big yummy ass. You knew who it was. I was like, that's like,
I didn't know who.
Yes, he was in Creed 2. So it's kind of like, when I was seeing, like, you know how they're doing like the Instagram stories of the movie, I was like, why is he at the premiere? I'm like, he's in the movie? I had no idea that he was in this movie. And I'm like, am I not paying attention? I'm like, oh, probably because I'm not paying attention unless you're taking off his shirt. I'm like, are you taking off your shirt? Are you like eating food with no shirt on? Okay, then I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, he's also not significant enough for me to even remember. Like, I remember that, like, right away I was like, man, I can't believe they got away with not having a single white person in this movie. And then I was like, oh wait, no, there was that gigantic one. But
like, I can't remember where he's from.
He's probably a Ukrainian if he played because he played a Ukrainian, I guess. And
so that was somebody that was in the comic, his character.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not familiar really with it, except that people were excited to see that, you know, that character brought to life or whatever. But again, I love that, like, he doesn't even have a significant enough role the way like Tim Freeman does in Black Panther.
You
know, he's just there. Yeah, he's kind of a second in command, but he's entirely at the whim and full deference to I was gonna say Uncle Tony. Uncle
Tony. I was like, because I told somebody, Shang-Chi can get it, and low key so could his daddy. I say he's kind of fine. I'm like,
well, he's been an actor. Like, I've seen that man in movies.
Because I was like, I know that face.
Yeah, you've definitely seen things in him. Yeah, he's been in like hard boiled. He's in this one movie that I love. I absolutely love. It's called Lust Caution. And it's a I have it on the DVDs. It's a very long, quiet Chinese movie, and it's about like, you know, like a forbidden relationship or something like that. And he was one of the main characters in that movie. So he's like a guy I've been watching in movies for at least 20 years. So to see him as like, I mean, he's old, but he's not old. Like, he's old in the Asian don't raise it kind of way. Like, you know, he's still
definitely there. I was like,
yeah, he still looks real good. Yeah, no, he did great. And everybody did such a good job. I was just happy.
Yeah. And because someone asked, it's like, how mad am I going to be when I see Awkwafina in this movie? I'm like, on a scale of 1 to 5, probably 1.
I mean,
like, and that's the thing, unless it's like she, like her mere existence is going to like bother you. Like hers doesn't. It's kind of like I barely knew who Aquafina was before Crazy Rich Asians. Like I really, really didn't know her.
I didn't know
And
who
then,
she was before that
right,
either.
I was like, I didn't know who she was. I didn't know she was a rapper. Apparently, she was in that reboot of Ocean's 11. I still have not seen it, and
I never saw
I'm in
that
the Navy, and I'm just like, okay. I'm like, y'all know. So I didn't really know her, and then it's like, yeah, I don't need you cosplaying as black and saying, well, I grew up in Queens. Well, like, you grew up in the white part of Queens, so that's not a thing.
Yeah,
he was just like, man, what you doing?
I have is like, you know what? There are people who grow up in predominantly black neighborhoods and have an accent similar to black folks, and that I wouldn't necessarily refer to as a black accent because they grew up in those neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. But she didn't.
So then there's the rub.
Yeah,
you're not Fat Joe using the N-word, and people are like ignoring that. I'm like, so he's still Puerto Rican. What are you doing? But he's like, I'm from New York. I'm like, that's right. I forget. New York is a whole different country. I get it. Y'all have different rules. California has really, different rules as well. Like, okay.
If she lived in the Bronx, or if she lived in, a neighborhood,
or in Brooklyn, not the white part of Brooklyn. Y'all know there's a white part of Brooklyn.
But even in Queens, like if she specifically was in a
black neighborhood,
then yeah, that would be different. Sense. But she's a boarding school kid.
Correct.
And that's a different world. Like that's a different kind of world. So my thing is that she doesn't really actively address the way she addresses the black scent character of Awkwafina is that Awkwafina was this thing that she did as a way of getting herself out of her shell to kind of deal with the awkward pain of being like an unliked Asian. Because in terms of her Asianness, where her complications are related to her Asianness is that she's Chinese and Korean mixed, and mixed Asians, we struggle. Like they don't really accept us and things like that. And on top of it, she's Chinese and Korean, which is a better mix in terms of Asian conflict than say if she were Korean Japanese, because that would be Romeo and Juliet. Like, what the fuck are you doing if you Korean and Japanese relationship?
Yeah.
But in her case, she's Chinese and Korean and stuff, and so she probably deals with the not being Korean enough and not being Chinese enough, and all that kind of stuff. She probably deals with all that stuff, and as a result of trying to get out of that awkwardness and that pain, she created her own invisible friend, except for her invisible friend was a persona,
right?
Was adopting this black accent and all that kind of stuff. So like where that like I get what she's trying to say, but what she needs to do is listen to the population, and the population is saying this is very performative, and you are
because you just need to like own it. I'm like, I need you to own it, and I need you to own it instead of just going, trying to like walk around it. And then when you're talking about Asian stereotypes, which by the way is very valid, it's like, it's still valid. Two things can be true. You're shitty for doing this black scent, and also I commend you for not doing an Asian stereotype.
Right.
It's like both things can be true. I think the thing it's some things are either or. For her, it's like both things are happening at the exact same time. It's like, but for you to act like you weren't putting on a persona to make money and that's what got you out there is going to rub people the wrong way. And it's like, because I said Awkwafina is not going to keep me from seeing this Marvel movie. Scarlett didn't keep me from going to see Avengers movies. So
exactly. And
I'm good. Okay.
The thing about Awkwafina's character, even in the Shang-Chi, is the character's likable. The character's just fine.
That part.
And if Awkwafina was that person in thing, she's actually, I mean, honestly, in everything I have seen her in, whether on purpose or accidentally, she's been really good. She's pretty talented.
Yeah.
My whole thing is address your problematic stuff. Stop doing that problematic stuff. And even if you're going to keep on with the name Awkwafina, be Awkwafina that is this person.
Yeah, because I think people were saying like, oh, you took off the black scent once you started making more mainstream films. I'm like, so she did like an indie film, but I get what y'all saying. It's kind of like,
she got notoriety. I think it's more, she got any notoriety, and she did get notoriety off of the back of this black scented persona. But a
persona that people digging Tiffany Haddish's ass about, and that's naturally herself.
Exactly right.
It's like, I'm like, y'all saying she too much, but. it put Aquafina on. So it's kind of like there's the rub in her. It's like, yeah, but y'all give Tiffany Haddish literally, I feel like
kind of shit.
That's why like Aquafina and Tiffany Haddish may not work in the same movie. It might be like that scene in Lethal Weapon 4 with Joe Pesci and Chris Rock. 4, 5. That was hilarious, but that can't be for a whole movie.
Yeah.
7 minutes, baby. That's all we got. You can't.
And the thing is, like, if Aquafina is more like this person that they like the way they had her dressed in Shang-Chi, you know, she had that little like fanny pack and the awkward pants and all that kind of stuff. Like, even if that's her whole deal,
very gamey. It is like
be that.
Yeah,
just don't be that with an accent that you don't have.
Correct.
Now, there's a lot of us mixed folks that have accents for where we are when we are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, definitely when I'm around more, and it naturally happens whether I'm trying to do it or not. If I'm around people who have more of a hood accent, my hood accent comes out too, because that's the first accent I had. You know,
I'm around more Baltimore people. It's like all of a sudden I'd like, your girl want a hot dog, or I'm talking about cribs, or like something comes out. I'll say Baltimore.
Yeah,
it's like sometimes I say Baltimore, but for the most part, like if I'm around enough of my Baltimore folks, I say Baltimore or Baltimore. But I don't say Horsh. That is for white Baltimore people, folks. I just want to let y'all know. But we don't say Warsh.
Like this accent that I speak with now is more of like something that was trained. You know, my aunt like trained my hood to speak out of me.
Okay.
And then because she wanted me to be able to get a job and shit like that. And you know, like, okay, I get what was going on in the 90s when she was trying to do that for me and things like that. But, you know, does it kind of rob me of something that I'm naturally, you know, I would naturally do? Yeah, I don't know. We didn't not everybody knew what to do. They were just trying to make sure your kids had jobs, I guess. I don't know, whatever.
Hello.
But
like respectability, we talk about respectability politics. Everybody thinks it's just for Black people. I'm like, no, it's for everybody.
Well, I mean, it was also because I have a name like Charmaine and I had a very hood accent, and then I'm sitting there, you know, trying to get a job, and it's just like, what's going on with you? Like, why do you talk like that? And
why do you talk like that? Especially if they're looking at you like you're not a visibly Black person. So
right.
What are you, Puerto Rican? What are you? It was like, what do you mean? Are you Puerto Rican?
It's interesting too, because out here people are, because I still wear my mask, you know, you're not seeing me necessarily right away. But then, you know, people are saying like, you know, I can hear the flavor. Like I've heard the things I've heard so far.
Not the flavor, honey.
Yeah. I had a nail technician say I can hear the flavor. So I was assuming, you know, like you might be Black. But people are picking me up as Asian now for the first time. I usually get Puerto Rican, because of the mask. People are seeing me as Asian right now, and the short hair I think is doing it too.
Okay.
And so I got that. I got some people that are like, please, you are seen as Black just because you're from the South. You know, you're in the South, and we're used to people who are Black that look just like you. You know, like there's a lot of Creoles out here. There's a lot of, you know, products of enslavement, you know, like all that kind of stuff. Like
now with that face, y'all did not see the face she made. That is hilarious.
Like we know what people are talking about when they see someone who looks like me or whatever. We talk about enslavement. So, you know, so there's like a lot of people that go like from someone your complexion to someone my complexion, they got all of us in the family, you know, so they're not tripping off of me looking the way that I look and professing that I am Black or mixed Black or anything like that.
And that's the funny thing, because you and my grandma, I think, are probably close in skin tone.
Oh, really?
And she had a dark skinned mom and a light skinned dad. So it's kind of like you two. And let me tell you, it's so funny when I think about it, because don't call her light skinned. She'd be like, so first of fucking all, no, the fuck I'm not. It's like she will dig your ass, because I think it's also because of her era. Because it's like you saying I'm light skinned, that means I must have a white parent. I ain't no white person.
Same with me being like a Blasian mixed person. Is when I say mixed, I know that some people assume Black, white, biracial, but I am not.
Like, no, I don't have a white parent. I don't have a white parent.
I do not have a white parent.
Oh, and that's the thing. It's an era thing. It's like, girl, her mama was the help.
Yeah. And there's people that used to describe me as light skinned. And I was like, but I'm not light skinned.
I'm not light skinned.
I'm not what you mean when you say light skinned. I am I do I have lighter skin? Yes. Am I a light-skinned person? Yes.
I'm not a light-skinned Black person.
I'm not a light-skinned Black person. I'm a mixed Black person, but my skin tone is much closer to being Asian than being light-skinned Black.
Yeah.
So, the same thing. You see me in, I was about to drop his real name. You see me in Blurred Vision together. We are
drop his real name, Mario Van Peebles.
He's Black, right, biracial, and he looks like what you say when you say light skin, but he looks Black like Mario Van Japanese. So I'm a different kind of mixed person, and I need, I need to be very clear that I'm not trying to own and or adopt any of those things that people try to put on a particular type of mixed person. Yeah. I don't have a white parent, so that's not my deal. But anyway, Shang-Chi is dope. I love being
dope as hell.
And did it give me the same level of excitement and emotion as an Asian mixed person as Black Panther gave me as a mixed Black person? No, but that was because my identity is more strongly grounded in my Blackness than in my Asianness. The other part is this is a Chinese group of characters. So while there is crossover across East Asian cultures, I'm just excited to see, and I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna say the dumb words. I can say it because I'm yellow. Yellow people on screen.
Y'all should see her like adjusting her rap while she's doing it. I'm like, girl.
I mean, there's certain circumstances in which I don't mind using the term yellow, and in this particular in this particular moment, it was a big screen,
and it didn't feel. It didn't feel like people were wearing costumes. I think that was my thing. Right. It didn't feel like y'all just putting people in costumes and not really thinking about what you're doing. It felt authentic. That's what I loved. It's like, but I also felt that way about Black Panther. But I think you're right. It's kind of like I'm a Black person, so I had more connection to Black Panther than I did Shang-Chi, mostly because just like with Guardians of the Galaxy, I went into this completely blind because I had no idea.
You didn't know the characters, right?
I know the characters. I'm like, I don't know if this is right or not.
I barely know the character.
I was like, but then when I saw the logo, I was like, isn't that from Iron Man? Oh,
So the 10 rings are essentially like, I guess you would refer to in terms of the MCU, the terrorist organization that just happens to span many countries and many cultures and many identities and stuff like that. It's just that through Shang-Chi, they pulled it all together into what its original origin was, which is
from him,
the Tony character, Tony Long's character. But yeah, so like I was excited. And this is something Crazy Rich Asians did not do for me. I went to Crazy Rich Asians also for Asian solidarity and all that shit. But for me, that was like the worst version of Asian people that you could have decided to unite over. Like the overly rich, super entitled, that type of Asian is not a relatable Asian to most of us on the ground here. You know what I'm saying? So like I wasn't getting Asian pride out of that movie. I was just saying like, oh man, the whole time I kept thinking it's really unfortunate that so many white people are going to see this movie because it was going to mean something for Asians to them, what Asians were supposed to be or whatever, that it wasn't going to be good for Asians necessarily. This gives me good for Asians and because we get the representation and we get to see ourselves, but it also gives me in the same way that any kid born after or during the Obama administration will only know that
a Black president
there could be
I don't know what it's like to not have a Black president. I remember one growing up. It's like
like I never went to New York until after 9/11. I've never seen pre 9/11 New York, right? So the same type of thing, like in the same way that there are children that will, even if there's not many Black or brown presidents that follow, they're growing up in a world where that was always an option, a possibility. In this case, getting to see an Asian hero not be a stereotype, but more specifically be like an Asian American, because he does essentially grow up here. Asian American hero that doesn't have to sound with a Asian accent, that isn't some kind of foreign element necessarily for the kids that grow up here, that they can be and see this is a world in which there are Asian heroes, just like there are white heroes, just like there are Black heroes, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I think Shang-Chi does that Crazy Rich Asians didn't do, that like Joy Luck Club did do, but then that was 30 years ago.
I love the Joy Luck Club. So that's one of my favorite movies is the Joy Luck Club. So when I saw, so if y'all watched it, there's a cameo in there.
Yeah,
like,
you see,
it's like every time I see, but I'm like, you were in my movie and I love this movie.
And so she was cute too.
She was adorable. I'm like, oh my God, now I want to sit around and just live with you.
Now you
live
see,
in this house.
People make fun of me because I say black don't crack and Asian don't raisin, but tell me Asian don't raisin.
Child, that movie was 30 years ago.
Yeah, she's old. She looks the same, with the exception of the fact that her hair is all gray now. She got the same face.
She looks the same. Y'all, so this is like y'all ringing endorsement to go see Shang-Chi. I can't wait for the Eternals because I'm going to go see that too. I'm going to
go see that too. That is also a movie. I don't care about those characters. I don't know those characters.
I didn't really know the characters. So I think that's the best part about Marvel is that, of course, you got to bring out the big three. You got to bring out Spider-Man. You got to bring out, well, I was about to say Batman. That's not DC. You got to bring out Captain America. You got to do Iron Man. You got to bring in Incredible. You got to bring those folks out. But bringing out a Black Panther, and people probably they may have only known it because of the like comic book characters. And why am I blanking on names?
There was the cartoon that was on BET for a while too that some people might have seen.
Ta-Nehisi Coates. That's all I was thinking about. Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote for Black Panther. That's what I was thinking of because a lot of people are like, yeah, that's right, because Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote, and I'm like, yeah, but this character's super old.
Yeah,
it's like so it's old. And then you're bringing out a Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm just like,
and nobody knew who those were.
Nobody really know unless they're digging in the crates to bring people in, and I kind of enjoy that because there's a lot of diversity that can be there. It's like y'all can do what they did in DC for Green Lantern. Green Lantern can be white or black or anything, or and it's never like that's not an anchor to the character.
And what I like about what's happening with the Eternals, even though I don't know anything about, like I've read a little bit of the Eternals, but I don't really care about, like they don't grab me the way other characters do. But in terms of the casting, that we have Salma Hayek, that we have Kamal Nanjiani, that we have Brian Taylor, Tyree, Paperboy, Paperboy. That we have that we have these Black, brown, Asian characters within Gemma is back. Gemma, it was
love her,
but she's in this too. You know, that you can have an ensemble just start out this way, so we don't have to question whether or not people.
I mean, I don't even mind seeing Angelina Jolie. I have complicated feelings about her
as an actress. About her too.
It's like as an actress, I'm like, I
love her.
You played a whole Black woman. Like, we're not going to do this with you.
We need to talk about that. Yeah, I loved her for so many years, and then she did that, and it was like, bro.
It's like, and y'all trying to explain this. I'm like, I don't care what the fuck y'all trying to say. It's like y'all not going to throw The Rock in that one movie where he played that white football coach, and I'm like, hey, y'all don't give a fuck about that. And also, The Rock plays racially ambiguous.
Yeah,
even though it wasn't like he had a Black daddy in the movie.
Okay,
Walking Tall. That's what it was.
Okay,
so the original character is a white dude. But in real life, in real life,
Gotcha.
And then in the movie, he had a Black daddy and a white mama. But
that's the other part too. Is that if you are gonna cast somebody that's not necessarily from the group, make it make sense. And so, like like I was talking about during the stupid Wonder Woman movie, how like they just inexplicably had that Filipino kid was the child of the bad guy whose name I can't remember anymore. The Mandalorian, and it was just like, at least at some point show me that kid had a Filipino mom.
Can I just tell you how I still am about to like put in my papers to sue them for my 2 hours and 30 minutes that I do not get back, and I'm pain and suffering because this is how bad that movie was.
That movie was terrible.
I had no idea she made a wish to get Chris Pine's ass back. I'm like, when the fuck did that happen? I'm like, I'm watching this movie and I'm just like, I missed all of this. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever.
You're wasting your wish on a man. Like, okay.
I mean, he fine and all, but it's like, girl, you look like that.
Here's the thing. I've been with my husband for 22 years almost. I love him. He's my person.
Yep.
Am I going to risk the fate? Am I going to risk the fate of humanity, and or am I going to risk my mystical wish?
No. And I wish she didn't even know she was making. I was like, wait a minute, hold up. And I was like, I would rewind this, but no, absolutely not. I'm not rewinding. I'm not going to rewatch anything. I refuse. I have not watched that 4-hour Justice League.
I tried to watch it. I couldn't get very far.
My buddy Kendrick said he got through it, but I think he like broke it up. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I was like, I can't do this. Mind you, I would sit through a whole Avengers movie. I would sit through the director's cut.
I'll watch
Lord of the Rings,
Avengers, all of the Marvel movies in chronological order
through. And still,
that shit again.
Right? Excuse me. I watched it. Like, you remember the director's cut of Lord of the Rings movies? It's like, yeah girl, child. It's like, I do that. I'm not doing this.
With the director's cut, I think I got about 24 minutes in. It got into like the bank sequence with Wonder Woman again, and it was just like, oh, this is so terrible. The way they utilize Wonder Woman too. I know that I'm not the biggest fan of Wonder Woman character in general, but the way they utilize her is so terrible. It undoes all of that girl power stuff that they talk about her being. They make her dependent on a man. They make her suffer over a man for 80 years. Like, bro, you can get over it. Like, you can move on.
Please do.
You can just move on.
Please go to hell.
It's fine to me. The ugliest you ever.
I don't know how we got through this, but we had to do it. But yeah. So y'all, we're still in low key. We really are. But
sorry. I know we can never follow.
I'm not apologizing for this because I enjoy you. I love you. You're my main. So and also,
I love you.
I love talking nerdy shit with Black people. I love blerdy shit. I love talking because y'all know what the fuck y'all be talking about.
We just need to have an aunties podcast together. I don't know why we're fucking.
Oh my god, girl. Yeah. Okay. All right. Don't make me put down a note.
Because some of my favorite moments of even any of my shows is you being on my shows.
Really?
Yeah, I love you.
Hear that, Mario? Did you hear that? I love him so much. I'm like, hey, Mario. He's like, oh my god, Stephanie's here. I'm like, yeah.
I hope one day we can travel to see you together. But if not, it's gonna be a challenge even to get him out here to see me in my shop and shit like that.
He's in Cali, right?
Yeah, he's in Cali.
Yeah, I need somebody to travel to Rashani so I can y'all can tell me about these ribs that I feel tortured. I'm like, I feel attacked.
I mean, Blur Vision has the best chance because he goes up there to see his mom still. I kind of stopped going back up there because I got it's trauma to go back to Sacramento for me. Family trauma stuff, so I don't like to go back. But I have gone. I have seen Rashani, but he wasn't doing consistently good back when I went to go see him.
Yeah, because I'm like I'm seeing these food posts and I feel attacked. It's
killing me with this food.
I was like, this looks so good. I'm like, I don't know what y'all doing out in Sacramento and y'all not buying these food because I'm like, I'm sorry.
Proud of him, but also like every time he posts, I'm like kind of mad that he's just like posting the shit. Like, do you understand that I cannot drive up to see you? Like, this is rude.
I can't.
But I'm super proud.
I don't have my Go Fresh link up. Okay,
just put it in a box.
I need
throw some ice on it.
Shit together. Find you a person that's going to find you a distributor.
He's working on it. I know that he is.
I know he is. We all for it. We can't help it. We can't help ourselves. So this happened today. I did not think I would be reading this, but Michael K. Williams passed away at the age of 54 today. Today is September 6th. It's the day we were recording. So he passed away. You probably know, if you don't know the name, you probably know him from The Wire, Boardwalk Empire. He's been in a lot of stuff. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? I think, if I'm not mistaken, he and Tasha Smith were still together, if I'm not mistaken. Lovecraft Country.
He just announced that he was going to get the biopic for George Foreman's trainer.
Really?
He had just announced that a week or so ago.
So, oh wow, that is so funny. So it looks like they may have not been together, but they were dating before. But I adored seeing them together. But yeah, Michael K. Williams, Lovecraft Country. I was talking to my mom about it, and I'm like, what is the name of that show? I've been blanking all day. Gosh. So Lovecraft Country, The Wire, Boardwalk Empire, and one. I never watched The Wire. I know y'all like, but you're from Baltimore. I'm like, bitch, fuck you. Get out the hell out my face.
That's hilarious. Like, you have to watch.
They're like, have you seen The Wire? No. Every time I'm like, no, they're like, why you ain't watched it? I'm like,
so it was good to a point, but I think I dipped after like the third season, because once he was great on it when he was on it, and Idris, of course, too, but there just hit a period where it was no longer the same show, so I haven't even finished it.
Oh, okay. I never did watch it. So the kind of characters that he has played, he's never shied away from it, and is a clip of him on the Breakfast Club, which, yeah, good luck everybody. That he isn't problematic, but of course, as them, they want to have the problematic conversation, and he was very thoughtful about it. So that's why I enjoyed him off the show as well, off the show of Lovecraft Country, because I didn't watch Boardwalk Empire. Homeboy eats up scenery, and so it's a loss, because one, he was only 54. I don't know if it's just because we're at this age where we're like in our 40s. I can actually
he's not far from our age.
It was just like, that's not old, but I feel like if I was 19, it's like, what?
Yeah, but he was amazing. Like, he's such a good actor, and I was excited every time I saw him. I mean, he's on an episode of Community.
Sure
you know what I'm saying? Like, he's just on things, and you're just like, I love that I got to see you today on this. He was just one of those actors that you're just like, that's a loss.
You enjoy it's a loss.
Yeah, and it's not sunk in quite yet, but it's
because it's today. So it's like they're already saying it's drug paraphernalia at his house. I'm like, that doesn't. I don't know what. Okay, I don't know what y'all trying to imply, but
it's possible that he died with cocaine and fentanyl in his system. But here's the thing: this is a weird. I was just saying this earlier. Like, this is a weird side effect of COVID. And this is so weird that what I'm about to say. But because of COVID, a lot of the supply chains and supply lines, even in the drug world, has shut down or reduced. So they're not cutting cocaine with what they usually cut cocaine with. So now they're cutting it with fentanyl, because fentanyl is easier to get. And that's a problem. So like, people that are dying of drug overdoses right now are dying because of things like it's being cut with fentanyl versus what it's normally cut with. And so the shit's not like you can't even trust your normal drug resource if you got a guy, because they may not know where their shit's coming from right now, because COVID has altered even that world. So like, you want to tell people like, stay off drugs or be careful or whatever, but like, it's literally like, you don't even know what you're doing right now if you're doing drugs right now.
Yeah.
Which is it's just a weird
it's a
fallout from COVID too, also.
Yeah. So definitely love to his family, and it's a loss. And you're seeing people coming in and sharing instances they've had with him, and you're seeing people just saying, one guy said on Twitter that he was at this party, he was by himself, and he came and just started talking to me and made me feel better. Aww. So it's like those kind of things, it gets you when someone passes away and people just have nice things to say about you.
Yeah, I've never heard a person say that he wasn't easy to work with, or that he wasn't a good guy.
Right.
Usually that he was encouraging, or that he would take time to like give younger actors guidance, or I can't. And he was just one of those people that you thought got through some of that real hard stuff that he'd been through in the past. Not got through it, but like was managing life outside of those things now.
Yeah.
So whatever had him
there, it's like,
I just don't know what to say.
That's the thing. People are doing, it's strange things happening in COVID. I don't know It could have just been accidental, and I think that's fine. It's like it's a lot going on in this world other than just trying to get by. It's like we're still in the pandemic. There are still people dying. There are still people are going back up. Masks are coming back on. I think Australia is still shut down. So it's kind of like, and they were open for I don't even know how long. And then they went back into complete like, nope, shut it all down.
Because New Zealand got one case of COVID and shut down.
That's right. It was kind of So it's like it's a lot. It's still very heavy, but rest in peace to a seemingly fantastic person, but also a really great actor that provided some iconic moments. Last and low key, Cardi B is now the mother of 2. She on 9/4/21 had a son. We don't know his name, but we just know what I need to know is when we get in a photo shoot with him and Beyonce, because they now got the same birthday. 9/4.
Oh,
mm-hmm. So now Offset is a father of 5, but we have a new baby boy. Very excited. I'm like, see, I love babies, so I'm all for it. And it's Cardi B as a mom is adorable. So it's like
she's just funny.
She is hilarious as a mom. So like, I enjoy her so much. I really, really do. So let's slide into mid-key. So let's talk about Andre 3000 and how, for some odd reason, Drake and Kanye are in a beef that everybody's like, what the fuck are y'all beefing about? And so Donda is released, hooray to somebody. And then Drake has his new album out, Certified Lover Boy, which
I can't talk on either of these dudes because I have never liked Kanye. I don't like him as a person or his music. And Drake is, if not an actual pedophile, he is a groomer. So I don't listen.
Put us in the bubble of allegedly. So allegedly.
Okay, allegedly.
So, yeah, I know. Yeah, y'all. Off the mic is different. On the mic, don't get on my nerves.
So I don't listen or engage in any of their media or their stuff. So I literally don't know what's going on.
Like I used to be a Kanye fan. Late registration is still there, but things got super weird after a few years, and not even just when he lost his mom, but it started before then, and then it spiraled, and then you see him breaking bread with a white supremacist enthusiast, and people are like, oh, I'm just gonna wait till the music comes, but y'all are canceling the lady in the basket skirt that sung at one party that the president didn't even attend. And y'all, it's like, y'all think we don't see the gag. And it's like, but right. Kanye just kept talking. I'm like, yeah, I'm good on that. I don't need him in my life. So for Too Long Didn't Read. So
Too Long Didn't Read.
On a show, on the newest Donda album, there's a song called Life of the Party that 3 Stacks had a verse on. He mysteriously was taken off that song because apparently it's supposed to be a diss song. So they just took it off, which is very interesting. So the reason why people know that is because Drake leaked the song. So people who came to the listening party, they didn't hear that. They didn't hear 3 Stacks' verse because he had took them off. Drake leaked that song, and that's how people found out. So now here it is. Andre 3000 is like, how did I get into this? So he put out a statement on Instagram. A few weeks ago, Kanye reached out about me being part of the Donda album. I was inspired by his idea to make a musical tribute to his mom. It felt appropriate to me to support the Donda concept by referencing my own mother, who passed away in 2013. We both share that loss. I thought it was a beautiful choice to make a clean album, but unfortunately, I didn't know that was a plan before I wrote and recorded my verse. It was clear to me that an edited, clean format of the verse would not work without having the raw original also available. So sadly, I had to be omitted from the original album release. The track I received and wrote to didn't have this verse on it, and we were hoping to make a more focused offering for the Donda album, but I guess things happened like they are supposed to. It's unfortunate that it was released in this way, and two artists that I love are going back and forth. I wanted to be on Certified Lover Boy too. I just want to work with people that inspire me. Hopefully I can work with Kendrick on his album. I'd love to work with Lil Baby, Tyler, and Jay-Z. I respect them all. I swear, Andre 3000 be just walking around the country playing his flute and minding his fucking business. He's like, I'm not doing this with y'all. Hello. It's like, why did everybody get fed? I'm like, yeah, I just saw Andre 3000. He was playing his flute. Can we get you on a Lizzo track? Cause she played the flute too, bitch. I need both of y'all to get on a track.
He was like outside walking around LA or some shit.
Right. I was
flute, right?
Like, yeah. What? It's like, why? And it's like, the thing about it is, it's like the beef between Kanye and Drake. Girl, bitch, we don't care. I care that y'all bringing 3 stacks into this. That man be just minding his business, and I would love for him to record more music, but it's like he's taking his goddamn time. I'm all for it, but y'all gonna leave Andre, keep Andre out of your bullshit. And the fact that we only know about this track out of spite from Aubrey is ridiculous. I'm like, y'all are like annoying at this point. Yeah, you're annoying. Shut the hell up. It's like, we don't care, but y'all bringing in 3 stacks. Don't do that.
So you know how there's those people that like you share a category with that you're like, man, I wish they wouldn't talk.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know they don't. So Little Nas X. So he is, he is literally the Khaleesi of trolls. Okay. He is the call of trolls. This man literally be giving y'all the blues by just existing. It's like he lives in Little Boosie's head rent free. I'm like, Boosie, make some music. Why are you concerned about what he does? So Little Nas X is having his album is coming out on September 17th. I love the imagery of just him butt ass naked and just this beautiful. It looks like an upgraded Lisa Frank background, but it's super cute. And that's not shade, because I love a Lisa Frank background. Okay. I grew up on Lisa Frank, but I love the imagery. He's butt ass naked. It's like, okay, some homie is working on his body and I'm enjoying it. Okay. And also Lil Nas X is only 22 years old.
Yeah, he's just a baby.
I was like, oh, he's a baby. Yeah, so it's like he's announced that. So on this album, listen to this: Megan Thee Stallion, Doja Cat, Miley Cyrus, and Elton John. I said, what? You got Elton on your album, bitch? Elton, ooh, girl. I was like, I'm all for this. He sold me at Elton John.
Elton needs to stay famous. Like, he likes to be famous.
I love Elton John. I love when he shades Madonna, and I'm a Madonna fan, and I'm like, this is just fucking hilarious. You and Patti LuPone just be killing me when y'all be digging in Madonna's ass.
That's funny.
Like, that's hell. So we got that. So he did a photo shoot where he had a fake baby bump. So there's a lot of people. So there are people who are like, oh my God, what about our children? What are they going to think when they see this? And I'm like,
first of all,
why would your children see this?
Why would your children be seeing Little X videos? Mm-hmm. Like, that's on you. That's not on him.
That's not. It's like, because that's what they said about his
Montero.
It's Montero. That was that video, and also the other video with it's the jail, the industry baby, when it was like that, like we had the pixelated penises, and like, oh my God, y'all can't believe y'all doing this. I'm like, excuse me, we used to have BET Uncut. Y'all might want to be quiet.
For real.
It was like this, like it's not giving what y'all think it's giving. So there's been several different conversations for it. One is people being extremely ridiculous because it's
they're using it as an excuse to be anti-trans.
Oh yeah, it's like it's transphobic and homophobic, and it's like
at the same time.
So let's see. He said that he came up with the idea for the pregnancy photo shoot after listening to Megan Thee Stallion's verse on their song. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I immediately called my stylist. Excuse me. He explained, and she was like, wow, this is all coming together. Your album, your baby. I was like, yeah, this is my baby. As a joke, she was like, yeah, you should do a pregnancy shoot. So this started out as a joke.
That is even better.
Right. It's like this is coming out as a joke, but this is also so people are like coming at him with like real like how dare you, but he's like being jokes. But it also offers up the conversation from trans folks, because there are a lot of people going, yeah, so this is a whole different conversation that we were not prepared to have or having to have. So it's like, so let me see if I can find the person that I watched. So there's a person who there was two trans people having a conversation, because you saw a lot of white trans people really being extremely like, how dare you to him. But then black trans people are going, so I hear you, but there's an added layer of blackness to this. And it's really bothering us that you're like, you should know better. And it's like, wait,
he should know better.
He should know better. Like one, that him just posing like, you can take this off, you can not be pregnant anymore, that is harmful. Like there are trans people that apparently were offended. And it's kind of like during the conversation, it's like a 90-minute conversation. I could like when I heard him discussing, no, that's a good point. So I think it's a good nuanced conversation. He is also 22. I don't want to, and that's an awkward laugh, y'all. It's like he is a 22-year-old and we're asking him to just figure shit out. And it's like,
also, there is also a way in which some things aren't actually issues or statements, you know, like
not a bigger statement, the bigger statement that we're saying, if that, yeah.
So. Yeah, that's exactly what I think is the case. And I think more so possibly because he is a 22-year-old person, right? Like he could have just been fucking around. I mean, how many times have you been home and you throw a pillow under your shirt and you're just like, I'm pregnant, whatever, something like that. Boys used to do it growing up, whatever, things like that. There are some things that I think actually aren't issues or actually aren't addressing issues or actually aren't attacking certain people. And that it's the other people's reaction to those things that where it becomes, you know, trashy or a joke or rude or some shit like that. Like it could just be that he was 22 and they had a joke and they thought it was funny and they took a photo without actually expecting and or reading into it anything that could have been an issue. That is very, very possible.
Yeah. So I think he didn't think that far ahead, because he didn't. It's like he's 22. There's no possible way, and he is like good at trolling. So I think from it, it's like I don't think he thought about that. Like what about trans men? What about non-binary people who are pregnant? It's like it kind of rubbed them the wrong way. And it's
just
like,
because he wasn't a trans man who is pregnant, that's what's rubbing them the wrong way.
I think so. Let me see. So I'll keep talking, but
yeah, because I guess I don't really know. Like I know there's absolutely some things that I've seen that you know have been read as appropriative, like say cultural appropriation in some way, shape, or form, and in some ways in which it's just not, but it's misread. Like here's a good example: the braids that Khaleesi would have in the show, where people would try to say that was like a cultural appropriation of Black hair, but it wasn't, because the kinds of braids she has weren't the kinds of braids that Black people have. They were loose braids or you know, or rolled into decorations, but they weren't like cornrows. They weren't box braids. They weren't, you know, dreads or anything like that, locks or anything like that. They were more similar to what you would have found in like Viking people or Anglo people and stuff like that. So that was creating an issue out of something that really wasn't an issue, because a lot of cultures wear braids. The problem is when a white woman knowingly wears braids that are a part of a Black protective hairstyle and tries to act like it's no big deal. That was not what was happening with the Khaleesi braids on the Game of Thrones show. This might be also that. Like, this might also not be a thing that is actually addressing and or attacking because if they think it's an attack, I guess I don't know. Like, and maybe also I'm not informed enough to know because I'm not from that category of people. Literally could just be a photograph.
Yeah. So
that has no thought into it.
Right. Because at the time I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, you're making people mad. Like the ones that I'm like, yeah, I don't give a fuck if you make like folks that say Lil Boosie got a point, but or ignoring the fact that he paid a sex worker to sleep with his son and his nephew. I'm like, that's who y'all are bigging up. It's like, I need y'all to stop. So I had to find it. So there is a young man named of Schuler Baylor. So he had an IG live with another trans man named Caden, and they had a discussion. So because he had went like wholeheartedly, like gung-ho, like what the fuck are you doing, this, that, and the third. So the fact that he put this on his Instagram before he had the conversation with Caden, because apparently he had like went super hard against Lil Nas X. So he had like, because he had an issue with him doing his pregnancy post. So this is what he posted. If you're here, please go read my most recent post from 9/5. The post remains here at the advice of several Black trans folks for accountability. Because that's usually what happens. When people offend somebody, they just take it down. They're like, nah, leave that shit right. I don't want to fuck up. We'll have a discussion with you. Some thoughts on Lil Nas X's recent album cover. A few additional thoughts. Several folks have noted that James Charles did a similar thing of faking pregnancy before and are demanding why I didn't have the same energy in addressing him. The answer is simple. I did not know he did that at the time and did not address it then. That said, it was still wrong when he did it, and I have the same energy for James Charles, if not with even more severity, because James Charles has said many explicitly transphobic things in the past. I will also add that why didn't you address James Charles, you're a racist, is unfounded. While I absolutely love and appreciate the attempt to call folks into anti-racism work, this energy is misplaced. My calling in of Lil Nas X here is about critiquing his carelessness and not considering the trans masculine community, and that only. The argument of, but James Charles did this wholly, discounts that is wrong both times. Just because James Charles did this does not mean it is okay that Lil Nas X did so as well. And that is why I chose to call him out. Lastly, for the people saying, but Lil Nas X is queer, being queer doesn't mean you immune to being transphobic. Some cis queer people are transphobic as hell. Now, I don't think Lil Nas X is intentionally transphobic, but we live in a transphobic world, so this intent did not land. So I think the reason why he had a calling in from Black trans folks is because I've noticed this too, that when it comes to LGBTQ plus shit, I have seen white LGBTQ plus go harder at Black people.
I think that
and say, true. They're like, wait a minute, what were you thinking? It's like, wait a minute, hold up.
There's a whole culture of white queerness that is appropriative of Black women. So correct. Until so we correct that kind of shit.
Right. You know? So I watch, it's a very long, it's not very long, it's 53 minutes of an IG live between Schuler and Caden. Basically it's a nuance and it's a very it's an important conversation because he's adding in why this looks kind of fucked up that you're going against this Black dude, but there's a lot of white queer folks and non-Black queer folks have done really fucked up shit and y'all don't have that same energy. So for him saying I didn't know, it's like, yeah, so to a certain extent I get that, but the other thing is, but still y'all acting like Black people should just know better off rip because we're Black is really weird.
Yeah,
it's like that's them like, well, y'all should know about discrimination. It's like, yeah, but don't go harder at us because it's happening.
And also it is possible that there's Black people who haven't faced some of the things and therefore may not know.
Right. Because it's like we're talking about being like LGBTQ plus people that are transphobic. I'm like, yeah, there's anti-Blackness in Blackness. So it's like it's not hard to understand. Yeah, it's not hard to understand.
I mean, there's literal like queer people who feel that the T shouldn't be a part of LGBT. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, or what's his name? It's the folks Dolce and Gabbana who are against IVF. And I'm like, what?
That's so specific and
it's so weird. It's like I think it's artificial or pregnancy is a weird thing. They said, and I'm like, what? And then let's add in Caitlyn Jenner. She's against same-sex marriage. She doesn't care about like the community. She cares about her identity.
Exactly.
It's always been that way. It's like, but y'all propped her up like she's representing the community. I'm like, no, she actually isn't. And they're like saying, you don't represent us.
Yeah.
Because you don't care about us. You don't care. You're against trans kids playing in sports. And it's like, yeah, I'm like, why are y'all surprised? Caitlyn Jenner don't care about trans people. She's demonstrated that.
So wild to have that, because there's the whole thing about talking about what it was like to be an Olympian as proof, and yet now trans kids shouldn't compete in sports event. Like what?
Right.
Okay.
Right. It's like, what, girl, y'all? Okay. So, yeah. So I enjoyed their conversation. It's different than the folks like, what about what our children are saying? I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm not talking about y'all, but actual trans people having the nuanced conversation about this is totally different. Yeah, that is valid. That is valid.
The whole thing about what about our kids thing is that is, yeah, there might be things that your kids will get access to when you're not around. That's absolutely the case. But again, it is still about the way you parent. Correct. And not about the creators. You can't make a creator not create because you might have a gap in the way that you parent or the amount of time you can spend around your child. Like, I was the kind of kid that I was so afraid of getting in trouble for things that I didn't think. You know, like if I knew I wasn't supposed to listen to a particular kind of music, I didn't, because I was afraid of getting caught. And that's not, I'm not saying that was good parenting on my parents' fault, that they parented through fear or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that kids do respond to how you've trained them. So if you're good about how you guide them, they may not go to see those things. Or if they do see those things, they might know that they can come to you and talk about those things. And you should be able to have conversations with your children about what they saw versus some kind of punitive discussion or a hate towards the creator. You know, like that part doesn't make any sense. Right. Now, if there is something, whether intentional or not, that is transphobic about that photo or the decision, you know, I would, I guess, defer to the people from the community that feels affected by it. I'm not touched by that, so I wouldn't be the person that would be like, oh no, absolutely, this is fine. I understand that I don't see the issue, but that's because I don't come from that community, so I'm not affected by the same types of things. I just have to listen. I just have to use this time to listen. But yeah, I mostly feel like anything that not Lil Nas X does gives, like, people take that as an excuse to actually bash versus paying any attention to what he's actually doing. I think there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of anti gay and homophobia stuff that is thrown at him just off of his mere existence. There's a lot of like weird anti-blackness that is kind of like a you're not behaving the right kind of black for us type of thing that I've heard related to him. And I can't.
It's so weird. They're like, that's not blackness. I'm like, yeah, blackness is not one way. It's not an umbrella.
We talk about not wanting to be a monolith in very monolithic terms. You know, there are still some rules, but it's hard to govern. Like, you have to decide what kind of black is the right kind of black, and it always seems to tend towards like a hood blackness. Right. You know, and I've been guilty of it too in the past before I start paying attention and listening. I've done that to people and stuff like that too, but we're either a monolith or we're not. And if he's a black man who happens to also be a gay black man, and he's doing his black gay thing, then he is being a black man, or he is being a gay man. He's been a black gay man. Like, he's doing all of those things at one time.
Yeah. I can't wait for this album because I want to hear this Elton John song. I really do. And it's like, yeah, it's like, it's very much like two things can be happening at the same time. Y'all dead ass wrong to be like really like homophobic and transphobic towards living oral sex, and it's hitting people the wrong way if they're trans.
Yeah,
that's it. It's like, oh no, both is happening. Let's slide into high key. So two things. So the first is a young lady had put up a thread talking about like something that happened with her boyfriend, right? So one, let me add this because I think this wasn't like people are starting like, oh my goodness. Let's add in, she is from South Africa. So that is important to this conversation. Okay, so this is what she started off with. My boyfriend and I left a get together at his friend's place abruptly last night. And when we were in the car, he started crying and told me that one of his closest friends asked that we stay over so that all the guys we were chilling with could take turns having sex with me. Okay. What's killing me, and this is not part of the original thread, but she tweeted a lot. Because you guys, it got really weird. What's killing me is knowing that birds of a feather flock together. Did he protect me because he didn't want his friends to do to me what they've been doing to other girls? Or did he really not know? Everything is up in flames now. My boyfriend doesn't drink. In fact, he's the only guy in their crew that doesn't drink. The friend that suggested this has come forward to apologize and is saying he was too drunk and was just joking. I'm not buying it, any of it. My tweet traveled so far that the mother of my quote unquote boyfriend's best friend called me begging me to remove this tweet.
Funny because she doesn't name anybody in that tweet.
No, she doesn't. This guy already has a rape case on him. I can't believe what's happening. The only upsetting thing is my boyfriend knew about the rape case and hid it from me. Only after yesterday's fiasco, he finally did admit that his friends do this a lot. That's why he doesn't chill with them a lot anymore. He says he's never done it before and that his friends suggested this to him because they don't respect him and they always ruin things for him. They've done the same with his past girlfriends too. I don't know what to believe anymore. As far as I'm concerned, I'm single now, bro. Y'all can have men. Yow. So when she first put up the tweet, a lot of people saying, oh, he's a good guy. And I was sitting here like, no, the fuck he isn't.
Why? Because he told her and cried?
Right. He cried and pulled her out. And I'm sitting here like, but what? So that's the part that people don't like to talk about. What if he had just went along with it?
Yeah.
What? And the bad part about it is, it's like,
would she have been raped, or would they have given her a choice?
Right. It's like, man, also the fact that you know this about your friends and you're still friends with them.
Yeah, that's where you're not.
It's like, like, girl, huh?
Yeah.
Like, are y'all seeing this? And then he already has a rape case. Wait a minute, hold up.
You brought me into the house of a person who has a rape case on them.
This man has a sexual assault charge. He has a case. And you're around him, and also y'all have done this before. So did you let this happen to your other ex-girlfriends? Why are you still friends with people like this?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry. Am I the only one seeing this? Like, wait a minute. This does not make you like going, oh no, you're not going to do this to me. You're not going to ruin this for me. Oh, okay. And I'm saying he was just joking. No one jokes like that.
No.
It's like some people have gallows humor, but joking about sexual assault, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned South Africa because that is important. Because my God, it's like, what the hell? It's like there have been some wild, like, because I think, do you remember the early days of the Me Too hashtag? Because a lot of those stories came out of South Africa.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And it was just like, oh, there are people who got beat to death by 2x4s. It's a lot. It is wild in South Africa because there aren't a lot of laws, but there were a lot of cases that came out of South Africa. I mean, it was just basically the hashtag was blackness, but it wasn't just American Black women talking. And so it's kind of like, I'm glad that she got the fuck one out of there, but my word, I was like, I'm not doing this with y'all. This is whack as hell. I'm like, he is not a good man.
No.
Let me just say that. He is not,
and I think
not a good man.
I have a problem with the tweet that said, my only problem is, and it's like, really? Because there's tons of problems here. But that it seemed more about him feeling disrespected than the risk he put her in, like from his own words, from his own action. It was more about them disrespecting him and his relationship versus the fact that she had no agency in that moment. He decided if they would stay or go. And if they stayed, would she have been physically restrained and raped? Or if they had presented it to her and she was like, no, would they have been like, okay. And then she could have gone without any kind of like, don't be like that. You know, it'll be fun. If you loved your man, you would do it. Or all of the other kinds of things that happen when men try to pressure women into having sex.
Right. It's like, because remember, it's like we're old enough to remember when coercion was not considered sexual assault.
I mean, it's still considered not sometimes. Like,
correct. All right.
So, yeah, that was wild. I did read that in your Twitter, and that was pretty wild.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the tweets that got me. She said, thinking about what could have happened if he had said, yeah, let's do it, will haunt me forever. And I don't think I will ever be able to trust ever again. See, that's the part that when Black women talk about their reservations with being with men, Black men don't want to hear that part. They don't want to hear what these kind of things happen. Like, you don't understand. It's like, yeah, so you're asking her like, oh, just get over it. I'm like, but you don't know what happened.
And also, like, just get over it is
acting like it's no big deal.
You don't, like, you're telling me that it's the same. Well, I'll never forget that people actually accuse Megan Thee Stallion of being a snitch when she eventually admitted to, you know, who shot her, right? She was.
Are you snitching? Are you snitching? I'm like, he shot her.
So her health and safety had no agency in that moment. It was all about telling on a Black man. In this case, same type of thing. If you're a woman who's been assaulted, or you don't deal with being raped the way people expect you to deal with it and shit like that, where you should just get over it. This is the kind of thing that is saying, like, how can you determine for another person? The way I deal with sexual assault versus the way my neighbor might deal with sexual assault could be totally different things. And why one of us might look like we're handling it better than the other, I guarantee you the both of us are suffering still in some way, shape, or form. You cannot determine for another human being what is sufficient getting over or safety or whatever. So if that takes her 20 years to trust another person, if that takes her 50 years, if she never trusts another person, then that's how the fuck bad it happened. That's how bad it was. That is not on her. That is not on the person.
It's like, I'm sorry, that's gonna be that she gonna have to get therapy with this. And it's like she gonna have to work through that, because that's a lot. It's like, wait a minute, but what if you just said yes? We like, okay.
Even what if you said yes as a joke, but didn't mean yes? It was the fact that
like, I was just kidding. And I'm like, you said yes. And also that's still like, if you know they've done this in the past, why would you bring why are you still friends with them? And why would you bring somebody else? It's like, but now it's like, oh my God, like, oh, like you're crying, like they ruin everything for me. I'm like, if you know your friends give off sexual assaulty vibes, why are you bringing anybody around them?
That woman at risk, whatever that is. If you put your sisters around those people, if you put your mothers around those people, if you put any woman around people you know to be sexual assaulters, rapists, then you are a problem. Like this goes beyond calling out
you're the problem. You're the problem.
Behavior. You're not calling out your friends on their criminal behavior.
And it's criminal. So it's always hilarious when you hear men say, I don't know any dudes that would like do that. And every woman either has a story or they know somebody that has been sexually assaulted. It's like, yeah. It's like, it's not like a group. It's not a sleeper cell moving across the countryside.
In my own case, it is most of my friend, like dudes I've hung out with that have done this kind of stuff to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's always a stranger. In fact, it's rarely a stranger.
It's like y'all think that people just grabbing people off the street, that happens every so often, but typically it's somebody that they know.
The amount of times I've been groped by a friend, the amount of times that I used to kind of mess with a person, but don't mess with them anymore, but they've grabbed me after because they've been there before and thought they had a pass. Like, yeah, I mean, of course it happens out in public. I've been grabbed in public. I've been complimented in really gross ways in public. I've been told not to smile in public. All that kind of stuff does happen too.
Yeah.
But the harder ones to get over in terms of just like general groping and or things, whatever, are the people that were my boys.
Correct.
Or the friends of my friends that are at the house or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
that's all is super weird. I just want love and light to this young lady. Because she said her anxiety messed up because it went viral, of course. And she's like, I'm glad it's getting back, like I'm going back to being a normal person now. But for that one moment, it's like,
yeah, when you see what? I mean, it's worse when it's people you know that aren't supportive. Certainly, like, of course, if I put out something on Twitter and it like, or Instagram, which I have done before, I've openly talked about my assaults and stuff. And I've had people reach out and just bash me on, you know, either lying on that person or people, or trying to get attention because blah, 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 whatever. But it's those people that are closest to you that either tell you they don't believe you or tell you didn't react the way they expected you to react, or that kind of stuff, that like, even though some of those people are actually still in my life, or that I'm still in contact with some of them in some way, shape, or form, I can never forget that they feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's the rub, is like, you have to work through it, but someone's like, I think like it's not a big deal. I'm like, oh, it's a very big deal.
Because the crazy thing is that in a lot of cases, the option is to not have anybody in your life because of how many people in your life
that part
fucked up shit to you. So you almost have to either just concede the point to a degree and be like, I just won't deal with this shit in front of them. And at least they're still in my life, or they're just going to be still in my life. So at least I have a person in my life. Or you cut them all out and you get down to the point that you almost can't have relationships with anybody because
you don't trust anybody. It's like, no, I'm like, I don't know. You might try to do me dirty.
And is there safety in that? Or is there safety in keeping people around that have caused you that kind of pain before? Like, where's the safety? You don't feel it in either way.
Nowhere. It's nowhere. It's nowhere. And that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Our last story in high key continues to suck, and that is the Texas abortion ban.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, one, they're like talking about it's just for a state. I'm like, yeah, so you do realize
stuff has repercussions.
Other states can follow suit.
And you know, places like Alabama.
Oh, absolutely. You knew this kind of shit was going to start in the South.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't come, like the Yankees can't do it and the coasters can't do it, y'all. That is not what we're saying.
It 100% get up there too. It'll just start down here first.
It was like Prop 8 was in California.
For real.
And it was on the ballot.
And it succeeded.
That's the thing. Everybody was like, I don't understand how this happened. It was on y'all ballot to vote. What you mean?
Most of California is super conservative. Central California is super conservative. There's more of them than there are in other places. It just so happens that we have the reputation of being moderate to liberal because of the cities. Two major cities.
Two.
San Francisco and LA, because San Diego is conservative as fuck and Sacramento bounces depending on who's the governor.
So there's that. It's like y'all don't, like, it's just at a state. So
no, yeah, it can spread. It can absolutely
spread like a ridiculous. So I got this from NPR. What does the Texas law prohibit? For everybody who doesn't know, it bans abortion as soon as cardiac activity is detectable. That's around 6 weeks, which is before a lot of people know that they're pregnant. Other states have tried to do this, but those laws have been challenged by abortion rights groups and blocked by federal courts again and again. How is this law different from other states' efforts? Groups who oppose abortion rights have pushed for this Texas law, hoping that it will be harder for federal courts to knock it down. Instead of requiring public officials to enforce the law, this law allows individuals to bring civil lawsuits against abortion providers or anyone else found to aid or abet illegal abortions. This law empowers individuals to enforce an abortion ban. How would that work in practice? Anyone who successfully sues an abortion provider under this law could be awarded at least $10,000. And to prepare for that, Texas Right to Life has set up what it's called a whistleblower website where people can submit anonymous tips about anyone they believe to be violating the law. These lawsuits are not against the women, says John Sago from Texas Right to Life. The lawsuits will be against the individuals making money off the abortion industry itself. So this is not spy on your neighbor and see if they're having an abortion. In a federal lawsuit challenging this, a coalition of abortion providers and reproductive rights groups say the law places a bounty on people who provide or aid abortions, inviting random strangers to see them. What does the law mean for patients and abortion providers? Dr. Bhavik Kumar, a family medicine doctor who works for Planned Parenthood in Houston, says the law creating a lot of uncertainty for patients and providers, but Kumar insists he will comply. The ban, though, will likely mean a lot of questions from patients about how they can get an abortion outside of Texas, Kumar said. I know that there are many people who don't have the ability to make it out of state. Logistics and the ability to do so is not an option for them, he said. So I'm really concerned about what's going to happen to people. Dr. Gazella Moyedi, an OBGYN, told NPR over the weekend that patients are apprehensive. They understand that the abortion that they're having this week, last week, the week before, is something that they wouldn't be able to have next week. They've been asking about it and asking, if I were here in September, would I be able to get this? What does this mean for abortion laws in other states? If the federal courts ultimately allow this law to stand, it's very likely that other conservative states will move to pass similar laws. Sego, with Texas Right to Life and his organization, said his organization is working with activists in multiple states who are eager to replicate this model if it succeeds in blocking access to most abortions in Texas. It is still a bit untested. We're still working on what laws are going to look like if the industry decides to break the law. So it is a new model that we're still testing out. What happens next? Multiple court challenges to the law are underway, including several lawsuits in state court in Texas targeting anti-abortion rights groups, including Texas Right to Life. Abortion rights groups are also organizing protests and demonstrations in Texas in opposition to the law. A spokesperson for Texas Right to Life told NPR that no lawsuits against abortion providers are imminent, and abortion providers say they will comply with the law as long as it is in effect. Y'all don't give a fuck about women. Y'all don't care about children. Y'all don't care about heartbeats. Y'all care about control.
So
y'all care about control. Go ahead.
I read this thing. It was someone posted a thing about, it's a quote from a traditional Christian pastor, and I'm an atheist, but this is something I thought was really well thought out and more Christian-like than the Christians that I hear talking about their beliefs on abortion. It says, every time the abortion discussion pops up, I like to point out this quote by David Barnhart, a traditional Christian pastor. Quote, the unborn, unquote, are a convenient group of people to advocate for. They never make demands of you. They are morally and uncomplicated. Unlike the incarcerated, I don't know what that word is. To complain that you are not politically correct. Unlike widows, they don't ask you to question the patriarchy. Unlike orphans, they don't need your money. Unlike education or childcare. Unlike aliens, they don't need to bring all that racial, cultural, religious baggage that you dislike. They allow you to feel good about yourself without any work at creating or maintaining relationships. When they are born, you can forget about them because they cease to be the unborn. It's almost as if by being born, they have died to you. You can love the unborn and advocate for them without substantially challenging your own wealth, power, or privilege. without reimagining social structure, apologizing, or making reparations to anyone. They are, in short, the perfect people to love if you don't want to claim you love Jesus, but actually dislike people who breathe. Prisoners, immigrants, the sick, the poor, widows, orphans, all the groups that are specifically mentioned in the Bible, they all get thrown under the bus for the unborn. This is coming from Pastor Dave Barnhart. And I think there's something to that, is that you don't have much skin in the game if you're advocating on behalf of voiceless fetuses, because they become somebody else's responsibility once they're born. Either the state or in their view, it just seems like it's a whole bunch of unwed Black mothers that are the only people that are out here just like willy-nilly trying to have abortions, but from their view of it, but they have no responsibility after they're born. It's just, at least that happened. We did that bit, but now they have a life potentially of actual suffering if they were meant to be aborted, because after that, maybe they are a rape baby. And now the mother has to have a constant reminder of the sexual assault that occurred, and maybe even fear that their child is going to grow up to look like that other person, down the road. Whether or not you got pregnant accidentally, maybe you did all of the precautions but still got pregnant. Maybe your partner died while you were pregnant and you didn't want to have their child without them being around. There's so many different things that can happen. But the worst ones that you see people talk about, and I've seen it even today online, is that the youngest recorded mother in history that we know of was 5 years old. That means she matured enough by 5 to have a period, to have a uterus, fallopian tubes, a whole deal. Was obviously raped because she was 5 years old, and gave birth to a child, for which was 5 years younger than her entire life. And if something like that were to happen, no matter how rare it occurs, the fact that it can happen at all, and your response to that is that the beautiful thing that came of that horrible thing that happened to you is now you have this child, which is also a reminder constantly of what happened to you.
Correct. That is gross.
That is disgusting.
It's gross. It's like, y'all don't give a fuck about women. Y'all don't care about these fucking kids. Because if that's the case, when a person goes to shoot up an elementary school and kills babies, y'all be ready to change these gun laws.
Yeah.
And y'all didn't. It's like, but my rights. I'm like, he killed babies. This is when I knew, like, y'all don't give a fuck about kids or nobody outside your own purview. Because, and then wanted to have like conspiracy theories that the school shooting in Florida. I
know which one you're talking about, but I can't think of the name.
Why am I blanking on the name?
Green.
It's like, yeah. And it's like, y'all thought that was made up. Y'all had crisis actors. Are y'all okay? It's like, y'all don't care about these kids. You just want to tell women what to do. Or let me say this, not just women. People who can bear children. Let's be very honest. It's like, we can include everybody. And I know there's these nice women on the internet, the Bette Midlerds and all, say just having sex with men. I'm like, so time out, homie. Sex is for pleasure too. That is not going to solve anything. That's super weird that you're like, just stop fucking these men. I'm like,
yeah, like it's always it's always punishment, right? Like,
fine. It's like, we won't fuck you then. I'm like, so then.
But what if you're a person who does actually want to have sex for pleasure? Why is that a bad thing?
Right, it's punishment. You taking our abortions, we're gonna stop fucking you because that's the only thing we're doing for sex. I know it's crazy to me too that women have sex for pleasure. I'm one of them.
It's just, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's scary to live in a place where that's happening, because I do think it could open the floodgates in terms of what other laws will be passed in other places. Right. I mean, the thing about, like, here in the state of Texas, 666 laws have been written related to women's reproductive rights.
That is weird as hell to think about. You're like, y'all don't have nothing else to talk about. And let's add in the fact that the Supreme Court, in a ruling of 5-4, said they are not intervening. They will do nothing. This is the other part of that.
Yeah.
It's a 5-4 ruling.
And
yeah,
your job specifically as a Supreme Court justice is not to have your personal feelings or opinions involved, but to do what is right according to the law. And according to the law, they should not have made the decision that they made. And yet, clearly, they're doing it based off of their personal belief. Like it could be the case that your personal beliefs and the law match up. Mm-hmm. But if your personal beliefs are opposed to the way the law is, your job is to follow the law.
Yeah. So this is what they said in their decision. In reaching this conclusion, we stress that we do not purport to resolve definitively any jurisdictional or substantive claim in the applicant's lawsuit. In particular, this order is not based on any conclusion about the constitutionality of Texas's law, and in no way limits other procedurally proper challenges to the Texas law, including, in Texas state courts. Yeah, they're not stepping in. They refuse to block the ban. And it's like, this is utterly ridiculous. It's just gross. I will say though, I kind of enjoyed the fact that GoDaddy, which was the host of that whistleblower website, said, yeah, we're taking that shit down. So they took it down. So it looks like Uber and Lyft said they would cover the legal fees for drivers if they decide to drive someone to get an abortion, because the law said anybody who was aiding or abetting an abortion. So they could get sued too. And they said, we'll cover that. The fact that we have to do all of that is like, wait, what?
It's so crazy that Uber has jumped on this bandwagon, given that they had notorious sexual harassment lawsuits against them, including like their female CEO at some point was also up for some of these things. But like to punish somebody who may not know, like let's say you are going to a doctor's appointment, you get an Uber, you go, and the driver, as far as they know, is you're going to a doctor's appointment. And then you happen to get a legal abortion, and you call for an Uber on your way back, and that person technically is aiding and abetting your illegal abortion when they're just a driving service that got called. They can't, unless the thing on the outside says abortions only clinic. You could just be going to a doctor's appointment, and now they're an accessory.
That part. It's like, so it's like, what the hell? Also, Bumble and Match said that they would create a relief fund for people affected by the law.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of weird fallout from this. Hopefully it gets overturned, but there's a lot of work that Texas has to do. Like, we got to get Abbott out, obviously. Actually, so a little fun story. My friend, who I refer to as my white woman whisperer, she's the white woman that I sick on other white women if I need to and stuff like that.
Come on.
She's the kind of white woman that'll put her bodies in front of places or tell other white people to stop asking black women to for them and shit like that. She told me that before the whistleblower site went down, she went on there to report Greg Abbott because he got COVID, and he took that medication that was made from stem cells. And stem cells are aborted fetuses, or pulled from aborted fetuses. And therefore, he is both profiting off of and utilizing a service that supports abortion. She added him to that list before that website got shut down. And who knows what happened? Like, they probably didn't get access to the information because it got shut down or something like that. I don't know. But I've heard about that, and then I've heard like somebody on the internet say, I'm not saying to mail Greg Abbott a whole bunch of wire hangers, but if you did, here's the address to Texas State Capitol. Just like when we were donating money to Planned Parenthood in Mike Pence's name, years ago, I think that you're going to start seeing a lot of actions like that. But, you know, Texas, we got to get Abbott out of there. We also got to get the lieutenant governor out too, because he's the one who says that Black people are responsible for unvaccinated Black people are responsible for the spread of COVID. Even though Black people are vaccinated in the state of Texas at a higher percentage than white people are vaccinated at the state of Texas, proportionally, because there's more white people here in Texas than Black people, but ratio wise, the amount of Black people that are vaccinated against the amount of white people that are vaccinated across the whole population of either white or Black people are vaccinated at a higher percentage than white people. So, you know, we got a lot of people to get out and stuff like that. And then there is the work of trying to undo the laws when you still have a very conservative state. But the problem with this is that this is not a voted law, right? This was done at the government level. We didn't have a say. It should be the case that we as citizens would be able to petition our council people and our state representatives and say, hey, we're not okay with this, and they would listen to us. But that's really not how politics goes, even though that's how it's supposed to go. So who knows? I don't know. But it's definitely a scary time to see what's going to happen over the course of the next you know, I mean, I think we have like so much of this fallout is gotten further along because of the damage that was done from a Trump presidency, you know.
Right.
It opened
he put in three. Is it three? He got three Supreme Court justices in 4 years.
When they were blocking Obama's appointment for
one appointment.
For a whole 2 years because it was too close to the end of his term, according to them.
And they was like, no, we can't do that. But then it was like, no, let's get him in before Trump leaves. I was like, y'all are not slick.
Me in there. She got sneaked in at the 0 hour.
Literally. And so it's like, that's the part of it that, you know, high school civics really does help folks. It really does. I get it. It's like, was Biden my choice? No. But I don't ever have a choice for president because I'm sorry, I'm a Black person. Mm-hmm. Any person you put up, it's always going to be the lesser of two evils. I'm like, well, who doesn't want less evil? Like, I'm like, it's just the lesser of two evils. I'm like, who wants more evil? Everybody wants less evil. And also, from a Black standpoint, this is a non-white standpoint. If we're being completely honest, that's everybody's mode. It's like everybody's going to think this is the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's never going to be like, oh my God, this person is going to be definitely for this. I'm like, they're working within a system that was designed when we were not people. Even
people that were like the crazy hardcore Bernie people. For you to be that naive to think that Bernie really was like a complete change agent that was just
like Bernie was the first one when Trump got elected said we need to work with him. I'm like, see, this is why I told y'all not to follow ass. It's like, hey, hi, he's still an old white man. He didn't want to do identity politics. And now it's like, he's our savior. Point on the chart where you think that. It's like, nobody's here to save you. As much as I love what Obama stood for, and I liked some of his policies. Let's be very clear. He still worked within a system that wasn't designed for anybody who was not white and rich.
Actively addressed some of the things that we really needed him to stand up and address. He never addressed Detroit or Flint in a meameningful way. He straight up tried not to talk about it as much as possible, even when directed with questions about it. He knew he had reports and didn't do shit about what was happening. He could have engaged in a way that actually took care of problems earlier and didn't. That's a major hit against him.
Correct.
The fact that he needed Biden to kind of just slip off and say, I support gay people, to force Obama to have to say, I support gay marriage too. When before that, he was not doing that.
He was not. And most people weren't, because that's what Bush got. That got Bush's second term along with the war.
And that's
but we don't have that conversation.
No. And the thing is, you know, I mean, I've always been the person that refers to him as not the first Black president, but the first African-American president, because him being of African heritage directly versus us that are from generations of, you know, American enslavement, we are different than him.
Yeah.
He also grew up in Indonesia with his white parents, his white mother, his white grandmother.
And Hawaii too, right?
And Hawaii and stuff like that too. So he doesn't have the same Black American experience that many of us had, and it really wasn't until college that he was experiencing racism towards him as a Black person in his life than, say, any of us who grew up here. And so there's different things about him that don't make him the guy for like he wasn't going to save us. And also, you're not expecting your first guy out the gate to be able to save
there's no way that he could have. It's like there's no way we were putting in, I'm sorry, Brother Malcolm was not being put in that seat.
Right.
So it's like it's really interesting to watch. It's like, to a certain extent, it's like I get the apathy that Black people have about politics. I'm like, there's a reason. It's like, it's not like it's
absolutely a reason.
It's actually like very righteous indignation or just righteous apathy. Like, I get it. It's like you just go, y'all, there's no way he could just be the president for us. But also there's a lot of shit that's at the state level that has nothing to do with him. Kind of like this.
Yeah.
The bathroom bill in North Carolina, that was not a federal mandate. That was a law of a state, and they did that like in the quiet of night.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff.
Or the fact that they lace things in that are unrelated to other laws.
It was like, huh?
Yeah,
like, what are you talking about?
This is a moratorium on rent during COVID, but also somehow there's an abortion bill linked into it. Like, there's things like that we'll never fully understand. Like, we can take all the civics classes in the world and we probably wouldn't understand the level of diabolical
literally
things that occur.
It was like the healthcare bill that they called Obamacare, hundreds of pages. Yeah. Some of them are voting, they didn't even read it. I didn't read it. It's like, wait, you just said no, you didn't even read it. It was just because it was his idea. It's like, y'all, there's a lot of stuff. It can't be like Trump has no power, but then you walk in and say Biden got all this power. I'm like, but y'all said that Trump didn't have no power. Biden in the same speak. He's an old white man. It's like, I don't know what to tell y'all.
Look at the situation we're in right now. Democrats control most of the shits right now.
Right. I think is it still Republican Senate?
Yes.
One of the houses they have, I think it's a Democratic House, but then it's a Republican Senate.
And then you got your, he could be executive ordering the same way Trump did if he wanted to, but when his hand is forced about something very significant, he usually tends towards a moderate and or more conservative decision because he wants to keep his seat. He was like that as a senator. He is going like that as a president.
And that's the thing. It's like were holding Obama to that, you doing all these executive orders. And I'm like, he's done more executive orders in his first year than Obama did in 8 years.
Right.
I was like, I'm so confused. And then add in the stuff that's going on in Afghanistan. It's just like, oh, this is a lot. And it becomes like, Biden, you screwed this up. And I was like, but didn't Trump have these wheels in place before he left?
Inherits the problems of the previous president, and some of them they're trying to undo things, and some of them they just got to go with it. So Biden getting us back into the Paris Accords was undoing something that Trump did. Biden's staying on target in terms of the evacuation out of Afghanistan. That's just him towing whatever line.
It's like, what is he doing? I'm like, he's letting the snowball roll downhill. Because I'm like, I could have sworn Trump literally had no problem telling everybody, I'm going to get us out of Afghanistan. And he been said that. I was like, this is not, he didn't make a snap decision because right now we're still in a pandemic and we're trying to get herd immunity. We're not thinking about Afghanistan. And the stories coming out of that is they're just terrible. I also don't think there was a clean way for us to do it.
There wasn't. There was
like, and that's the problem. That's the part that sucks. It's kind of like there was no way that this was going to be smooth by anybody. It just wasn't. Not after Trump's Muslim ban that he want to act like he ain't do.
Yeah.
So, y'all, I don't know how we got here, but yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, politics.
It's like. Texas is a mess right now. It was just like that was not on my, because I mean, I think this happened before. Yeah, no, it happened after September 1st. So this was not on my September bingo card that we have an abortion ban.
I mean, we knew it was coming out here and stuff like that. But here's the thing, like, even when I was about to leave California for Texas and everybody was like, are you sure you want to do that during, whatever, stuff like that? I've lived in Texas before, and it literally doesn't matter what state you live in. Like, I've lived in multiple states. It really doesn't matter. You're still dealing with Democrats and Republicans wherever you go. And yeah, you might live in a place that is more one thing than the other, but your day-to-day life is not constantly affected by the craziness of whatever the opposing party is in your area and stuff like that. That's just not how your day-to-day life is. It's just that some states have worse reputations about some things than others, but all states are out here doing horrible things within their people. So many representatives don't represent the people from their districts and things like that. And this is just one very public example of that happening. Maybe it does reflect most of the state's belief. It doesn't reflect mine, but I happen to live here. So my job will be to vote as well as I can and encourage and help other people that don't vote yet or want to learn about voting or something if I can. But I mean, the fact of the matter, we live in a very racist and or patriarchal system. And nothing is really going to improve. You can't really improve within this system.
Correct.
Which is what they show constantly throughout history, is that regime fall, they build something else, they find out new problems. That regime falls, they build something else, they find new problems. There's no good answer. There's no good answer. I don't have a way to end that besides just saying, like, yeah, it sucks, but moving here doesn't change whether or not it sucks more or not.
Yeah, because it's pick a state. It's like, like for a Black person, it's like, y'all, it's like, oh, what about? I'm like, y'all, racism is everywhere.
It's everywhere. Your city alone, notoriously horrible police department, just like many other places. More cameras, security cameras per capita in Black neighborhoods than any other part of the country.
Hello.
All of us have our trash. Like, all of us have our thing.
It's like, I tell people that all the time. It's like, poor Black communities, just Black communities, poor Black communities are over policed and under policed at the exact same time. People are like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, hello, Good Times had a running joke about, if you call the police, they will not come. It's like, y'all, it's like, we're under policed and over policed in poor Black communities.
Just the other day, I was driving to go get some food, and there was one single solitary Black woman that was being talked to by, there was, I think, 4 to 6 cops standing around her, but a total of like 4 cars on the street, cop cars on the street. And the cops were Black also, but, they were cops. And my whole question the whole time is, I don't care or need to necessarily know what that one woman did. Why was there so many men around her? Why was there 6?
Why so many? Like, why are you doing all this for that happened to me with a traffic stop, and it was because I had a broken tail light. This woman pulled me over, as a white woman, and it was rush hour traffic. It's a 2-lane highway. It had no shoulder. I'm driving down the street, so there's no shoulder. I'm in the left-hand corner, and she turns on her siren. And so I had to find a place to pull over. It took me a minute because it was like 2 lanes. It's very tight. So when I pulled out, you didn't want to stop. That's how she started our interaction. And it was just like,
was it safe for me to do so?
I was just like, I was trying to find a good place. Oh, well, you could have just pulled over. Mind you, I'm talking about, it is busy traffic. It wasn't like early in the morning or late at night. And it was just like, okay. So then she took my license and my registration. She was gone for a few minutes. All of a sudden I noticed there were like 2 or 3 other cars behind me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? She ended up giving me, like, it's like a warning when you need, like, when you have a broken taillight out. It's kind of like they give you like a warning paper, like you have to go get it fixed. If not, they'll like suspend your registration. But the reason she called those people is because her printer was broken. You mean to tell me you got me sitting here anxiously for 10 minutes because you got a fucking broken printer?
Also, mail that shit.
You can be like, oh, I had to wait for a printer. It's like, bitch, you doing all of this on a Monday morning.
When you know that, like, there was a day where you used to have just a carbon copy fucking book. Y'all don't have those as a backup?
But it's like, you're going to keep me here because you had to do it?
Because multiple clock shows?
Like, because one, and you started off the interaction extremely off. And it's like, because if I was anybody else, I'm like, really? No, of course, I'm trying to evade you. Of course, I'm going to stop. But then it's like, you're asking people that y'all pull over to be more adult and have more awareness than people who literally have a license to carry.
Supposed to be trained to not.
And it's like, that's how you started this off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever.
Don't like that
at all. But y'all, we just be going because I love Charmaine.
I know my battery is about to die and stuff like that. I probably got like 10 more minutes on this.
Okay, so before her battery dies, tell everybody how they can find all of your shows and how they can find GulfCoast Cosmos. And also, I forgot to add that she also makes masks.
That's my man. Yep. So for my podcast, I'm back from hiatus because I also took a very long hiatus during my moving and stuff and mental health too. Militantly Mixed is available every other Tuesday. The next episode will not be tomorrow, but the Tuesday after, on the iPods or the iPods. Look at me sounding like an old person.
Come on, the
iPods. On the Apples and the Googles and the Spotify's, wherever you listen to podcasts. BlerdcoMIXED we do as a live Facebook stream through our BlerdcoMIXED page, but we also put that same stream onto our podcast on Thursdays every week. You can go to my comic book shop, GulfCoast Cosmos, by going to GulfCoastCosmos.com or following us on the social medias at GCC Comics. So there's 3 C's altogether. And for Masks by Mane, if you would like to buy any of my awesome ass masks, you can go to masks by Mane, MANE.com, and also follow me on the social medias at Masks by Mane as well.
Yay! Sorry, I'm very excited. But you guys, I will be back. This has been a Mocha Minutes podcast. Charmaine, as usual, I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I will be back, guys, with another episode next week. So
you think I'm being typecast? I don't know. You think this cat is typecast? It's a fucking cat, you know? Ain't got much choice. What if he moved to a new neighborhood? You know, hung out with the poodle crowd, did poodle things, you know, become a poodle. Still be a cat, you know? But what if he convinced himself that he was a poodle and everyone else that he was a poodle? Wouldn't that make him a poodle? That's a good point. I mean, weird as shit, but that's a good point. And this whole metaphor is bullshit, yo. You hear me? You think everybody don't got a role to play? Huh? You think a white boy could have played Omar? You think you could play a president? I could. And I think we've seen the last black president for a while. I'm just saying. I think you're gonna always be playing some version of Mike. Gangster Mike, old-timer gangster Mike, southern gangster Mike. But I'm not a gangster. Everyone that knows me knows that. Self-denying gangster Mike. Look, I picked these roles. Me, I made this path for myself. Did you? Yeah, did you? Or did they choose you? You think we would be doing what we're doing if we had a choice? Huh? Face it, man. Look, we from a certain type of people that come from a type of place that look a type of way. You know what that make us? Black. Typecast. I would typecast, I'd be in jail or dead. But I'm here. I got out. Got myself out. You sure about that?